Hey guys, it's Esiri and welcome back to my YouTube channel. How you doing? I hope you guys are doing good. It feels like forever I sat down to do like a sit down video, but here I am, and today we're going to be talking all about books. As you guys know, this year I went back into reading, and at the start of the year I gave myself a goal to read 2 books a month, and that would be like what, 24 books in a year. My math is, I'm not the best at doing math, but anyways, yeah. And I think so far this year I've read about 15 books just in 6 months, and I'm proud of myself. Like, it's a lot of books in my opinion, if you ask me. And today I'm going to be talking about all the books I've read so far this year, just give you like the lowdown about the books, what I think about them, and if I recommend you to read those books or not. So yeah, if that is something you're going to be interested in watching, then just keep on watching. So, as you guys know, my favorite genre is romance. And funny thing is, as I was looking at all the books I've read this year, I realized that I've actually read less romance than like the other genres, but it's okay. So these are all the romance book I've read this year. I think there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6 of them. And we're just going to be talking about them in no particular order. I'm just going to be telling you guys what I think about them and stuff like that. So we're gonna start with Get a Life, Chloe Brown. This is the last one I read before the current book I'm reading now. I absolutely love this book. This book is one of those books that I know I'm gonna keep, because I'm not one of those kind of people that would just keep books just for the sake of keeping a book. At some point I'm gonna sell most of the books I have here because I've read them, but I know I'm not gonna sell this one because I love this book. It's like kind of like an enemies to like lovers kind of trope, you know, two people who don't like themselves and they end up liking themselves. I like this book because it talks about like chronic pain and, you know, stuff like that. It's a very flirty, fun, and steamy. This book, you don't want to read this book when you haven't gotten some in a while, because it's gonna turn you on. But this book is very steamy. 100% I love this book. This book is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Would highly recommend if you just want to read something fun and flirty and sexy, and you're gonna love the characters, the boy and the girl. I love, and it's a swirl couple. It's a black girl and a white boy, and if you know, my husband is white, so I was like, I feel this book. I love this book. Okay, next one is The Hating Game. This book is all over TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. This book is good. This book is an enemies to lover trope too, and it's also an office romance kind of book. What's the guy's name again? Templeman. I hate Joshua Templeman. This book also has a movie, but I actually prefer the book to the movie. This book is fun, it's cute, I love it. It was, you know, it gives you all the feels. It's a nice romance genre. It's not so heavy. It's what you would expect from like a romance book. It just makes you feel good. It just makes you feel great. I think I gave this book 4.5 out of stars on my Goodreads, and yeah, it's a really good one. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I would definitely, you know, recommend anyone to read this. I feel like I'm going through the books, like I'm talking about them very quickly, but I just, you know, just want to tell you guys what I feel. I don't want this video to be too long, and also I'm not the best at giving like in-depth analysis about anything when it comes to stories. So yeah, moving on to the next one. It Ends With Us. This is everybody's most talked about love romance book, I think, from last year and this year. Every and anybody who likes to read has probably read It Ends With Us. Even if you don't like romance as a genre, I feel like at some point you will end up picking up this book just because it's just everywhere on the internet. But this book really lived up to its hypes. This is honestly, out of all the romance book I've read, I've not showed you the others, but this is like the best romance book I have read this year. And I think, was this, no, this was not the first book I read this year. I absolutely love this book. This book follows 2 characters, obviously a boy and a girl, who met each other, fell in love, and then it's like, oh, it's not what it seems to be. And it talks about domestic violence and things like that, and it's a really, it's a love story, but it's not like the flirty, you know, fluffy, regular kind of like what you expect, like this one. I know I'm just going in here to meet a boy and a girl that fell in love, and that was what I was expecting. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be, oh, it's gonna be nice, it's gonna be fluffy. Obviously, like every story, there's gonna be some challenges, and at the end it's gonna be resolved, and they're gonna live happily ever after. But this book was like, hell no, sis, that's not what we have in plan for you. We have something else in plan for you. And absolutely love this book. 100% would recommend. And this is also a book that I know that I'm not gonna sell. I'm gonna keep this book because I feel like at some point in time I would want to reread this book. 100% gonna recommend this. Moving on. Next we have The Love Hypothesis. I love this book. This book is very cute. It's like fake dating. This is a fake dating, you know, two people pretending to be dating, and we all know where the story ends. At the end, they're gonna end up falling in love. We love it. We love fluffy books like that, books that makes us feel so giddy on the inside. I love this. It's also in like STEM, so like in the sciencey kind of vibe, working in a lab. He's a professor, she's a student, but not in the creepy dating your teacher kind of way, right? She's technically not his student, right? So he's a professor at the school, but she is not his student, so I think we're gonna let that slide. But it's a really cute book. I love this book. Would recommend if you like lovey-dovey story kind of books. 100% I'm gonna recommend this. The next book is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This book is a friends to lovers trope. It's like two people who've been friends for a very long time, but they love each other, but you know, they don't want to say it because they're like, oh my god, it might ruin our friendship, blah blah blah, you know, those kind of vibes. That's what this book is about. It goes between summers to summers because the both of them, they always go on like summer vacations together. So sometime you'll be reading about like what they did in like past summer, and then it will come to like current summer, like the current holiday they are on, you know, their journeys together, what the obstacle they have to face, because you all know that in this kind of books they always have to face some kind of obstacle that they're going to cross at the end. But it's a really good book. I loved it. When I read this book, what did I say? I think I gave this book a 4 out of 5, and I think the reason I did was because, oh, I thought it was a good book, but it did for me, it wasn't like a 4.5 kind out of book for me, or a 5 out of 5. But it's a really good book, and I would still recommend you to read this book if you want to read something fluffy and fun. And the last book in the romance genre is Beach Read by Emily Henry. The same author that wrote this book wrote this one, and I actually like this one more than this one. I think I gave this book, was it 5 out of 5 or 4.5? But anyways, this book is so cute. I love it. It's like, oh, dreamy romance kind of vibes. It's about two authors who are, you know, living in this town, you know, by the lake, and both of them strike a deal, you know, saying, because one writes only romance fluffy and the other one writes like, the girl writes romance novels and the guy is like a very deep kind of like serious kind of books. That's what he writes, and they both made a deal and said, okay, by the end of the summer I'm gonna write your style of a book and you're gonna write my style of book. And so they kind of have to work together to kind of navigate how to write, you know, a book that usually is not something they would write, and so they get to spend time together, blah blah blah. And you know how the story goes, they end up falling in love. There's a line in this book that it said, don't fall in love with me. I think that's something like that, and that line stuck me because it's like so cheesy. It's a line that you would expect from this kind of book, like, don't fall in love with me, we're just working together, but at the end you know they're gonna fall in love with each other. As you can see, guys, I love this book. I talked about it a lot, but yeah, I think when it comes to the romance book I've read so far, my 3 favorites is definitely Beach Read, It Ends With Us, and Get to Life, Chloe Brown. If you don't read any other of the books when it comes to the romance one that I recommend, I've talked about so far, you should definitely read these 3. I love them so much. Now let's move on to the next genre. It's just a mixture of every other kind of genre all together in one. I just had to split into 2, romance and non-romance. So let's go into the first book in the other genre of books that I've read. So the first book I'm going to be showing you guys is the first book I read this year when I decided to start reading again, and that's Jung Bon 1982. And hands down, this is my most favorite book I've read this year. I don't think I'm going to read anything this year that would top this. I don't know yet, but I just feel like there's nothing I'm going to read this year that would top this book. It's a very small book. It's like 200 and something pages. You can finish this book in a couple days, or in a day if you're actually a fast reader. This book is so thought-provoking. This book is so triggering. You would be so angry when you read this book. As a woman, you would be so mad. You'd want to punch every male person that it was talked about in this book. This book follows the life of Kim Ji-young. She was born in South Korea in 1982. This book just talks about all the things she had to go through as a woman, the misogyny, the sexism, the everything that women go through. I know this book focuses on women born in Korea, but as a woman, anywhere in the world, you would 100% relate to this book. I love this book. If you don't buy any book, if you don't read any book about any of the books I'm going to talk about in today's video, please read this book. It's a really short book and it's very captivating. Like, you wouldn't want to put it down. It's going to suck you right in. You would want to finish the story. It's not a true life story. However, it is stories that we've seen and we've heard all over the world as women, so we can 100% relate. I can go on and on about this book. I gave this book 5 out of 5 on my Goodreads because I 100% think this book deserves it. So yeah, this is Kim Ji-young, born 1982. Moving on, next book we have here is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. This book is so funny. This character, Eleanor, she's hilarious. I love her. She's a quirky girl. She has, like, I don't know what you call it. You know when people cannot really read like social background, like, what's the word? Oh my god. Like, she doesn't know how to act socially. Like, she's awkward. I don't want to use awkward because I feel like it's not the right word to use, but she's socially awkward. Like, she cannot pick social cues, right? She doesn't know it's not the right time to laugh if something that isn't funny or you're not supposed to laugh about it happens. She would laugh in those kind of situations, and she's just a funny, quirky girl. But then it's not a love story per se, but there's just a little splice, but it's not a love story. Then she meets this guy in the office she works, and they spend time together, and then they meet this old man. It's a really cute story. I love this book so much. It's such a funny book, and I think I gave this book 4.5 out of stars. It's a really good book, and I would recommend this one. The next book I'm going to be talking about is His Only Wife. Guys, if the light keeps getting dark, it's because, first of all, I'm filming with natural light and it's a nice day outside, but the weather keeps getting dark and bright, so I apologize for that. His Only Wife by Peace Adomedi. This book is written by a Ghanaian. It's about a Ghanaian woman. I forgot her name in the book now. Anyways, it's about a Ghanaian woman a Ghanaian girl who got married to her mom. Asked her to marry this man because the man's mom has been very helpful to them, you know, is taking care of them because she lost her dad. She helped the mom, and so as to repay the woman for all the kindness she's done to their family, she marries the man's son. And the family, the man's family wants a woman for the man because the man is dating a Liberian girl that they don't like, and so they thought if he marries someone else, you know, this new woman is gonna help him forget his Liberian woman. But it's just a story about a man who wants to eat his cake and have it, you know, be with two women. And you know, Peace, I call it not Peace, Peace is the author, but the lady, you know, she finds her voice at the end of the story, like saying, you know, you either choose between me, your wife, or this other Liberian woman who is actually not your wife. You have to make a choice. You know, it's about a girl who is so naive at the end, finding her footing, you know, finding her place. It's a really good book. I would actually recommend you to read this book. It's called His Only Wife. Next one is Love the One You're With by Emily Griffin. I think this is my least favorite book I've read this year. Not because the book isn't good, but because the story ended in a way that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting the story to go this way, but then it went that way. So it's about a lady. I already forgot most of the characters' name. I'm sorry, there's too many books I've read this year. I can't remember all their names. But about a girl who is newly married, and then one day, it's set in New York. One day on the streets of New York, she runs into an ex, you know, the one that got away. We all have that, or some of us have the one that got away, right? Kinda. And she runs into the one that got away ex, and now she's battling these feelings of if she still have feelings for the ex, or she wants to be with her husband. Is she gonna cheat? Is she not gonna cheat? You know, that kind of like internal struggle some people might have when they come into situations like this. That's what this book is about. It's a nice book. I love it, but I just didn't love the end, and I think I gave it like a 3.5 just because of the end. I would still recommend you to read the book, but if you don't read it, you're not really missing out too much, in my opinion. Next one, we have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I love this book. This book, I wasn't, I went into this book not knowing what to expect, but I loved it. So this book follows the life, it's about the life of twins, mistress twins, and you know, they run out of their home. I think when they were like 17, they run out of home to like, I want to say New Orleans. I want to say that, but probably that's not it. But anyway, they run out of their home, and at some point they both separated. You know, one continues living her life as a mistress black woman, and the other one start living her life as a passing white woman. So basically this book touches on passing. For those of you who have no idea what passing basically means, is passing is like, you know, mistress people who are really like, they look very white, they could pass for white, hence the word passing. Like, if you look at them, you really can't tell, is this person mixed or not? Like, for example, Meghan Markle, everybody knows she's mixed, but she could easily pass for a white woman. That's what passing basically means, or at least pass for a Latina woman, if you get what I mean. So yeah, so this book follows two women, one living her life as a black woman, twins, so they identical twins, and the other one passing as a white woman, married to a white man, have a baby girl, and the other one with a black man with a kid. And you just like go back and forth between their life as little girls and their life now. Obviously books like this is going to touch on racism, because this book was set in like the time where racism was still like a thing, right? I mean, not like racism is not a thing anymore, what am I talking about, but you know what I mean, like back then when it was like. But yeah, it's a really good book. I loved it. And also we get perspective from like the lives of like their kids, because at some point the daughters meet each other because they don't know themselves, because when the two women separated, they didn't see each other for a very long time. Nobody knew what was happening in anybody's life, and at some point the daughters meet each other, and it's like, oh my god, I have this like really dark cousin, and I'm like this really white cousin, am I black, blah blah blah, you know, those internal struggle that some mistress kids do have. But yeah, it's a really good book. I loved it. Next book is The Midnight Library. I absolutely love this book a lot. I would recommend this book. So this book is about, you know, this girl whose life, she's just been living like this miserable life. Like, it's that kind of life where you want to die. And you know, she does end up committing suicide. Trigger warning, I should have said that at the beginning. Trigger warning, not to give the book a spoiler, but you know, she ends up committing suicide, and now she's stuck at this place. She isn't dead yet, you know, but she's stuck at this place between life and death, and she's in this library, and there's a librarian there, and every book she picks, you know, it's a book that shows her about a life she could have had, right? So at a point in her life, she had a boyfriend, and the guy proposed to her, but she turned down his proposal. And so when she was in this library, she took a book of like the life I could have had if I had said yes to his proposal, and she sees that life, and so she sees so many different lives she could have had. And you know, this book is just a book about hope. You know, at the end, it's all about saying, you know, whatever shitty predicament you are in life is really not the end of the world, and you can get out of it if you want to get out of it. I really love this book, and I would 100% recommend you to read this book if you haven't read it. It's very captivating, it's not long at all, and the story, it's a really good story. You'd love it. I feel like I've been talking very fast the whole time. I apologize for that, because I feel like I'm just going through the books and I'm just like talking like I'm a water tap turned on. But the next book is Anxious People. Oh, I love this book so much. This book is so funny, it's so cool. I love the story. Oh, I love this book. So this book is about a bank robbery gone wrong. So this bank robber goes into a bank to rob, but the bank is a cashless bank, so she actually cannot rob. And when she was leaving the bank, she saw a policeman, and she thought, oh my god, the policeman is after me. So she runs into this apartment building, and she went into the first apartment building that was the first house that was open in the apartment, and they're apparently having an open house, and she holds them hostage, even though that's not what she actually wanted to do. And it just talks about her life, and then we also learn about like the people in the house that she was holding hostage. She wasn't technically holding them hostage, she just ended up there because she was running away from the policeman. You know, we also know about those people's life, why they are there. It's a really good book, and the two policemen, the father and son, and at the end what happens, I don't know. I feel like I can't talk about this book without like giving it away. I already gave it a little bit of away by saying the sex of the robber, because that's also like I should have put spoiler there, but I'm sorry, I'm not used to doing book reviews, I'm just talking. But it's a really good book. I would 100% recommend you to read this book. I love it. The next book we're going to be talking about is The Maid. This is also one of my recent reads. I think I read it in my last reading vlog, so I do have like 3 reading vlogs, so if you want to watch them, I'm going to link them down below. Go watch them. The Maid, they made it so cute. I love the character. The character in The Maid is very similar to the character in Eleanor Oliphant, because also like Eleanor, this girl, she cannot read social cues at all. She's even worse than Eleanor, if you ask me. Like when it comes to social cues, 0. And she works as a maid in this like really luxurious hotel, and one day she goes into this hotel room of like this big CEO to clean his room, and then she finds him dead on his bed. And as the investigation goes on, she becomes like the primary suspect of the murder, and now she has to prove that I didn't kill this man, I just wanted to clean his room and I found him dead. So yeah, it's a really good book. I loved it. It was very fun. Let me read the first, like the epilogue of this book. It's really good. Let me read the first few lines for you. One moment. Listen. I am your maid. I am the one who cleans your hotel room, who enters like a phantom when you are out gallivanting for the day. No care at all about what you've left behind, the mess or what I might have seen when you're gone. I love it. I love that line. I don't know why. It's just captivating. Just that first like 1 paragraph is really good. So yeah, absolutely love the book, and I recommend you to read this book. And the last book we're going to be talking about in this video is Yinka, Where Is Your Husband? Look at how the husband is spelled with a Z. If you're Nigerian, you would know, because Nigerians pronounce husband as husband with a Z. Yinka, where's your husband? If you're a Nigerian and you're over 30, in fact you don't even have to be 30, once you've clocked 25 as a Nigerian, your parents start asking you, where's your husband? When are you going to get married? Who are you dating? Do you have a boyfriend? You know, Nigerian parents, yeah, all through your teenage years and your early 20s, they tell you not to have a boyfriend, but at some point magically they just expect you to have a husband. So how do you expect me not to have a husband when you tell me not to have a boyfriend? But anyways, this book follows Yinka. She's 30 years old. Everybody around her is getting married, and she's still the single Pringle. You know, everybody prays for her. Her mother is always praying for her. Her mother is always calling prayer warriors to pray on top of her head to get married. Yinka is stressed. Yinka is like, you know, even though I'm 30, I'm not married, doesn't mean my life is over. But then Yinka's cousin got engaged, and Yinka's like, oh my god. So even you got engaged now, and then Yinka made a promise to herself. She says, for your wedding, I'm gonna bring my mans to your wedding. I got 4 months to find me a man. And so Yinka goes on the task of finding herself a man for her cousin's wedding. This book is fun. I loved it. Yinka was a little bit annoying at times because, oh my god, you could just smell the desperation from a distance as you were reading this book. I'm like, Yinka, you are desperate for a husband. Calm down, sis. It's really not that deep. Finding a husband is not that deep, right? But yeah, it's a really fun book. If you're a Nigerian, you will get some of like the little Nigerian things here and there in this book. It's a fun book. I absolutely enjoyed reading this book. I would recommend it, even though Yinka's character was annoying at some point, but I recommend reading this book. And I think I give this book like a 4 out of 5 in like my Goodreads. So yeah, that is Yinka, Where's Your Husband? So yeah guys, that is all the books I have read so far this year. Currently I am reading Wish You Were Here. Yeah, that's why it's called, Wish You Were Here by Judy Picoult, and I'm loving it. I'm almost done with it. I'm loving it so far. But yeah, but before I end this video, I just want to give you guys a little tip on how to buy books for cheap. So yeah, as I was saying, I want to give you guys a little tip on how to buy books for cheap. I think out of all the books I've showed you, there's only about 4 of those books that I actually bought full price, and that was until I found Facebook Marketplace. You know, we've been living in Korea and Facebook Marketplace is not in Korea. I've always known about Facebook Marketplace, but it's just not in Korea. When we came to Canada, I've been hooked on Facebook Marketplace. All the books, out of those 4 books, the other books I've bought, there's 12 of them, and most of them on like my to be read pile, I got on Facebook Marketplace. I just searched for books and I found books for like $5, $7, you know, compared to the amount of books. Some books, I think the highest amount of book I bought was $23 for just one book. It pained my soul when I was buying the book, but I think it was this one. It cost me about $20 or $22 to buy this book. But yeah, so if you're someone who likes to read, but you don't want to be spending money like 20 bucks every time you want to buy new books, there's some things you can do. You can go on Facebook Marketplace, which is where I spend most of my time. If you live in a bigger city, it helps because I live in a small place, so I don't even have lots of options. But sometimes when I just change like my location to like Vancouver, even though I don't live in Vancouver, I'm just like, I just want to see what books people are listing there. There's like people are listing like even newer books, trendy books you would love to read on there. So if you live in a bigger city, even better. But if you live in a small place, you might still be lucky. I mean, I got all this book from like my small town that I live in. So yeah, another thing is to check secondhand bookstore. I mean, that one is pretty obvious. I think I've bought about 3 books from secondhand bookstore. I think the most expensive one I bought cost me like 12 bucks, but that book brand new was like $19. So I did save quite a lot of money just by buying it secondhand, and I just thought, you know, I should put that here. And also, I know there are some groups on Facebook where you can like exchange books. Because I live in a small town, there's really none here. If I live in a big city, I would join groups like that to see books I can exchange. That's another thing you can do too. That one you're even just getting it for free. Just put up a book there saying, I have this book, anybody who has this book want to exchange, and someone might just reach out to you. I just thought I should just put that here at the end of this video, just for anyone wondering. Got something in my eye, 1 minute. For anyone wondering, you know, how to get books for cheap, I thought that might be very helpful. But yeah guys, that is all the books so far. I can't wait to come back at the end of the year to show you guys the other books I've read for the remaining half part of the year. I mean, we're in July now, so yeah, I think I'm gonna smash my 24 books before the end of the year, because I'm at like 16 books now. So I have like, what, my math is bad, I want to say 8 or 6 books left to go. But yeah, let me know in the comment section which of these books I mentioned that you've already read and what you thought about them, or if you haven't read any one, which of these books I mentioned that you would like to read. And also let me know in the comment section, you know, book recommendations for me. I love genre, but as you can see, so I said I love genre, I love romance genre, but as you can see, I'm not reading only romance anymore. So feel free to leave your recommendations for me in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.